in the name of personal injury law.
I'm here today with Steve Sinas, a partner at the Sinas Dramis law firm, and two guests, John and Andrea Kenzer. Steve, tell us why you brought these special guests with you today.
I'm honored to have them here. We have Andrea Kenzer.
Yep, happy to be here.
And John. And they have been clients of mine. And they've actually been on the show before. They came on a couple of years ago to talk about how important the Michigan no-fault insurance system has been for them, how much it's aided John's care and recovery. And so that was great to have them on back then. Since then, we've had reforms passed to our no-fault insurance law. Those were passed in 2019, and some really restrictive rules under those new laws went into effect this last July. And our firm is trying our best to represent people in this kind of chaotic situation where people are trying to understand what their rights are. And one thing that's really unfortunate about the reforms is that not only are insurance companies trying to apply them to people going forward who are injured after the laws were implemented, they are now trying to go back and apply them to people who were injured prior to the implementation of the reforms. These are people who bought insurance policies based on the old law, based on the old standards regarding how much they get paid, how much their medical providers get paid. And now the insurance companies are trying to apply them to people who had those policies. And that's what's happening to the Kenzers. So
I also want to add people who have negotiated contracts with the insurance companies after they've been injured, right? It's not just that they were relying on the old law, they also actually had agreements.
That's right.
Yes.
And a whole customary way they got paid. And like Andrea, she's adjusted her entire life to be the sole care provider for John. She provides great care. And Andrea, how have things changed for you since the implementation of the reforms?
Well, almost immediately, they stopped paying like the normal pay. It's like 56 hours a week. That's it. And it's obvious John still needs the 24/7. His doctor says he needs it. We have a script for it, but that's it. And the therapists aren't getting paid as much, but I don't even get equipment that I need on time. Everything has changed. Everything.
And let me explain to the viewers, the 56 hours that she's referencing, under the new law, it says that family members and friends or anybody who had a prior business or social relationship with the person, anybody who provides care who falls in that category, the payment is limited to 56 hours a week. So in the Kenzer situation, their insurance company was paying them 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And now this law is passed and they say, okay, we only have to pay you 56 hours.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
Even though she's still providing full-time 24-hour a day care.
Right. And even though she's, they're still claiming benefits under the policy that was sold under the old rules.
Can we go back just for a second? And Andrea, can you tell us a little bit about the accident that brought us here in the first place?
Yes. Back in 2002, John was coming home from playing hockey and he hit black ice. And his car spun out of control, hit a tree, and he was in a coma for 6 months after that. We were told he probably wouldn't get better, so stick him in a nursing home and take a vacation, they said. Good advice. But I didn't like that. So I got guardianship of him and brought him home. And that's where we started actual therapy.
So this is back probably 2003 by the time the
Yeah,
actual
he came
therapy
home
started?
in July of 2003 on tube feeding, on a vent, everything. But I wanted him home.
And can you tell us about the improvements he made over the course of the many years until the 2019 law change?
Oh my goodness. Well, first of all, he's walking, with a cane or with a walker, but that's still walking. His speech is still ongoing, but he can actually be understood now if he goes really slowly. I mean, it has made huge gains in his life. He'd be probably dead by now, but if not, in a nursing home, I'm sure.
John, can you express yourself with the iPad?
Hi, good to be here.
Thank you, John.
So, the segment we did a couple years ago with them was focusing on how no fault has really benefited John and really given him a quality of life because it was there to pay for his providers at a rate that they could, sustain financially.
Yes.
And for you were able to take the payments and have enough money to live off of while you're his main care provider.
Right. And that's what the bulk of it was, I mean, he had to be taken care of. He couldn't do anything by himself. I had to supervise everything. And it was a long, horrible road. But I'll tell you what, he wouldn't be here today without no fault.
But now the system you're encountering is it completely different in many respects?
Completely different because first of all, they stop paying you. And they say, we'll give you 56 hours a week. And I did say, come to my house, please, and see how he doesn't sleep at night, see how things are going. They said, we don't have time, they said. So they just cut everyone off to 56 hours a week, and that's what we're living on.
And with your providers, they're obviously more stressed than before?
The providers, I have to pay for all of my own things before I go in because they're not assured of a payment from the auto insurance. So we have to pay ahead of time when we go in. And I've also been advised to change doctors, but I don't want to. They've known him all this time. They're great doctors. I'm not changing. So I'm paying for it myself.
So we're doing this segment here to bring awareness about how these reforms, these new rules and regulations that apply in the no-fault system are really having an effect on people's ability to access care.
And you can access it if you want to pay for it yourself. And that's why we have insurance, is because it's expensive, it's long and tedious.
I want to point out, to pay for it yourself, but you don't have a job because you're
Correct.
taking care of your son full time. Like, it's not like you can make money doing something else.
No, you can't, unless I take him to work. But how do you know? No one would let you bring your son to work with you while you're doing your job. That's not going to happen.
Yeah, just appreciate the absurdity of it. Our legislature passed a law that took away the payments to Andrea Kenzer that she was relying on to be this great care provider for her son.
And I'm still doing it, but it causes you a lot of stress,
What our firm is hoping is that eventually the courts will recognize that, at least for people like the Kenzers who did buy these policies based on premiums that were calibrated around the old rules, that the courts will recognize that these new rules can't apply to those people because they had their contractually bargained for rights and that they need to stay intact. Unfortunately, that whole process is taking quite some time to move through the appellate courts, and people like the Kenzers are hanging in the balance.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, it's just really disheartening to see a system that served so many people and do so much good now turn this system where the most catastrophically injured have to be beggars, have to basically play by the insurance company's rules every step of the way to get any payment.
And that's what it's boiled down to, because they really have you in a corner, because I can't go to work. I cannot do it.
Go ahead, John.
Not a beggar.
Not a beggar. Well, when they have a law that says that they don't have to pay you more than 56 hours a
Your
week
mother
unless
might
they
be a
want
beggar
to.
then pretty quick.
Well, and what about the care providers, the medical providers who aren't able to stay in business with the new constraints that have been placed on them by the
Correct,
legislation?
because I'm about to lose my case manager because they haven't been paid either for any of their services. I think they were told they don't really need them.
Well,
I need them.
Let me make this point before we wrap up here. Unfortunately, this reality has been brought to the attention of our legislators, but they have refused to fix the problem. Several amendments have been proposed, and they're refusing to fix it while people like the Kenzers are suffering.
And we've been waiting for the court case for a very long time to be decided, and it's still sitting there.
Why are we here?
Yeah.
So is there any remedy? I mean, what do we do?
John and Andrea, thank you so much for coming in again. We
thank you for
really
having
appreciate
us.
it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Steve.
In the Name of Personal Injury Law is brought to you by the Sinas Dramis Law Firm.